All right, thank you for attending. This is the first CBOM meeting of 2025. That is weird to say. January 9th. So, Nicholas, welcome back. Where did we leave off?
Yeah, it's a good point. So just quickly, Juan reached out to me just a couple of minutes before the call. He will join later because he had an urgent call and had to that he can't skip. So he will join there first and then try to join this one later. And I think from our last discussion, we had some discussions with Juan about what we want to move over. There is a to-do on my side regarding creating actually an issue. I will just quickly open it, but think without Juan, we couldn't continue, or we can't continue with the, getting the part that the Santana people extend into the next version of CBOM. But there was this one point that I had on my list about standard kind of standardization about the algorithm naming that is currently getting more and more urgent on our side to solve this kind of problem.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, I would just again bring that up and that we discuss how we could maybe approach that and solve that. I have some insights because what we did in the past, that it's more complex than I thought in the first place. But I think that's something we could discuss. Otherwise, yes, the issue was around the curves. That we want to move them over, or where we keep a list of curves or something like that. So that I will create, and then what I also have as a small to-do was that I will reach out to Navanis, who should be back today in the office, and that he will join the next call or the one after that, because he has some good knowledge about certificates and certificate types. And we had the question about around the certificate properties and how they relate to the different certificate types and stuff. And he could maybe write some insights there.
I think we also had, wasn't there an issue around we used the NIST certificate life cycle on like keys but not certs, or vice versa? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All so right. There was a thing that we used the key management lifecycle for the keys, but it wouldn't match 100% with the certificate lifecycle because there's, for example, I think no revocation or something like that, which Juan had in his list. And I think we concluded that there is not really a standard naming for that, like the NIST one, that we could take over. So there we stopped a little bit and maybe.
Okay, so that needs to be fleshed out yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, so that issue, and then the two big ones, it sounds like, are standardizing on both the algorithms and standardizing algorithm names and standardizing on the curve names.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think algorithm more important than curves, but curves also important.
Okay. All right. And in terms of importance, is that because there's less probability of the curves being post-quantum ready?
I just think
or is just algorithms used more?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. All right. Okay. All right. So do we want to tackle which one of these three things do we want to focus in on?
So from my side, since as I said, Juan is not here, so we can't continue with the last one maybe.
Yep.
Just discussing the algorithm names, and I kind of have a train of sorts around that I can just quickly go through, and then we can kind of start the discussion around that. There he is already. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fast.
You spoke too soon.
Yeah.
Hey, Juan.
Hi, hello.
Hey, Juan.
Happy New Year. Glad you could join.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a last minute meeting, but it was fast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe
So we
then,
were just
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
go ahead. So you want to focus in on the life cycle then, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, I think from the to-dos, if I correctly remember last time, there was also a request to you, Juan, to kind of list a little bit what you changed comparison to 1.6, what you extended kind of on the CBOM part. Do you have that kind of ready that you could open and we can go through? And I think because we stopped last time with the certificate lifecycle, and when we can start there and then go through the other parts, that would be great. And I would in the meantime open the current version so I can make changes.
Okay, let me take a look. A second, please. I'm recovering.
Yeah, no worries. So currently, so
Okay, can I share the screen or?
yeah, you can do. I will. Yeah.
Okay, this is the last version of our of our own schema. So we can see here the things that we have added and the things that we have changed. No, but this is no, sorry, this is not the schema. I think it's data model. No, it's this one. So
Okay, so you can quick look, but just I found the last to do that I actually annotated in the 1.7 draft, and there we had a link to the Cyclone, to the metadata, and then the phases, I think, as a reference to how we could implement the certificate lifecycle, if I recall correctly.
can you repeat? I didn't understand what you mean.
Yeah, so I just tried to oh damn it, I tried to pick out just the last point where we stopped last year, and what I had in my notes, just try quickly to share and then we can switch again.
Okay.
Was that there was this to do about certificate, the custom states for certificates, so certificate lifecycle, and I copied here or pasted here a link that reference to the lifecycle phases in the current version. But I can't recall the context why we put the link there. Do you or Steve, do you recall why could we use that, or is it just we thought that this could be a way to implement the life cycle? Maybe.
Yeah, it was
don't-
like we were going to try to think a way of using this to implement the life cycle, but I don't know if this was going to be possible because there was differences between the states defined here.
Yeah.
It might have also been, and again, I can't, I have to watch the recording. It might have also been how life cycles allows you to use the predefined ones as well as
Yes.
define custom ones, which,
Yes.
if you have a custom life cycle management, then that would actually allow you to do that.
I think that
and
was
we
the
could
point.
do the exact same approach for the keys and certs.
Yeah, I think that was the point because we weren't sure because we don't have a standard to reference to, so we will take the best guess and then have a way to add custom phases to. I think that was the result.
Yeah.
But I have a question here. Our intention is to go to the NIST to get validation about what we are what we get from here, including the part of the states. So how would it sound if we have the validation from NIST that what we are requesting to be added or to be modified makes sense to them? I mean, having that validation maybe would permit to add those states in the standard implementation or in the core implementation of the schema.
Yeah, possibly. One thing I can't remember what the language specifically says for the description of that field, but NIST is the standards body, and having their buy-in is very, very different than actually having that written down in one of their standards. So we'd have to, if we included the NIST, if we included additional life cycle outside of what NIST provides, we would certainly have to be we would have to potentially alter the description of that field so that we communicate that this is not just NIST, because it's not part of the standard at that point. Yeah, as defined by, that would have to change
If
because we would.
Yeah. But
So,
I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I think I completed my thought. So.
Okay, so what I was thinking, or what I thought here, was that for keys, we still keep the NIST standard, still allowing custom states using the same logic that we found in the lifecycle object. But for the certificate lifecycle, which is different because there is no revocation currently in there, we will take an inspiration from what Juan did in the extension, and maybe thinking again if there's some renaming needed. But I think probably we will come to a conclusion that those are the most important lifecycle part of the certificate. Still having the option to add more and with the custom object like this, and then here we wouldn't mention any standard or any document.
Yeah, that would actually work really well, I think. So like having the state and then maybe a custom state or a state and a state name, for example.
Yeah.
And you have a choice of one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so then I would kind of put if you one of you could find the certificate lifecycle and share it so we can just quickly look over it and discuss it if there's some but otherwise I would still put it in the 1.7 with the logic that I just described. And then again, if we have more people in the next call, we can still go over it and discuss the namings. But then we have already the logic, and what I would put on my to-do list for the next call.
And is that to-do list, Nicholas? Is that what you have like documented in that pull request that's currently in draft, or is this different?
Yeah, no, it's just my internal, like to structure my task, but I can add it to the issue if that makes sense to keep track. Otherwise, I just had this to-dos in the code. But
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
Okay. So I would just quickly write that down, but so, and if you could find the certificate lifecycle states and share it, that would be great.
Okay. Let me. I was not looking for it. I thought it was going to be shared offline. But 1 second. Should I copy paste here in the chat, or do you want me to share the screen? Or
Yeah, just share the screen so we can just go through quickly and yeah, think about if there's some, if it just fits, and if we don't come to a conclusion here, then we will discuss it next meeting. That was just my idea.
This is
Okay.
the part of the state. So we have pre-operational, operational, retired, suspended, revoked, and destroyed. And the main difference was the revoked state.
And this was basically just the renaming of the one that was part of the key states, the compromise. No, yeah.
If I remember correctly, wasn't there a mention that in your case revoked is assumed to be compromised?
No, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Revoked means that may be compromised, but it can be also revoked by administrative reasons.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. That was the part where there was a difference. That's why we didn't use the compromised state.
I see.
We didn't want to use it.
Is there a reason? I just try to compare currently with the key state. So for the first two, it seems like you renamed active to operational. Is there or activation and active to operational? Is there a reason behind that name?
We can use the naming that was that we had for the keys states. There's no problem in using. I can change that to reuse the names. The only pain point was the revoked state.
Okay.
The other ones, we can reuse them.
Okay. And I think since we don't have a standard to reference to, is there a way to, I think there was a way to put Markdown into the description to have a description for each of those points, right, Steve?
Yeah, there's a property. It's not part of the JSON schema specification, but it is widely used. The property name is called meta::enum. And it's just a key value pair, and the key being the name of the enum and the value being a description of that enum.
Okay. I see. Yes. Okay. So I think then it would make sense for those. Yeah, I see there. Okay, to really put a description in there. I think we have it for most of the enums anyway in the CBOM part, but here it makes especially sense if we don't have a standard to reference to describe what we mean with that. Okay.
And another important part of the revocation is that when the state is revoked, it should be assigned a revocation date. So inside of our properties, management properties, we have management dates, and there we have defined a revocation date.
Yes, it's
So
a good
that
point.
part, I don't know if it will fit in how it is defined right now, but we're not using the how was it called? It was another bomb. Management
OBOM,
bomb.
operational.
OBOM, yeah.
Yeah.
We are not using right now OBOM, so we wanted to keep it simple and define those management dates here.
Mm.
But well, maybe yeah, we should dive into OBOM to define all those elements. But yes, right now we are
One thing
using.
that's going to be really useful is I think, Nicholas brought it up earlier, but one thing that's going to be really useful is if we can get from you anyway, almost like a brain dump of what all these enums actually mean. Getting, because I see like received date, and I have an idea in my head what that means, but it would be really good to understand what it means to you and how that ties into the operational aspects that you want to be able to achieve.
Okay, we can.
So getting descriptions for the enums would be really, really useful.
I think we have descriptions here, but maybe they are not accurate enough. I don't know. Let me see. This is. No. Okay, I will. I take a note and we'll have the
Okay.
descriptions for the next meeting.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. So in regards to having like values related to like enum parts, is there a common way to do that in the standard? So because I think we have in the certificate property something like also different key value pairs for different date reasons. We have a creation date as a single field to add a date. We have activation date, we have update date, expiration date. And I think for the date, if we want to capture that, this is kind of the same way to do it. But currently we have it just as a list that you can set for, even if you have just one state, you can kind of add the values, the date values for all the states in the current part of, or the current certificate properties. I hope I explained it kind of understandable. Feels a little bit better. I tried to show it. So this is the related crypto materials, and here we do have already the key states. We would have similar ones for the certificate, and here then we have different properties for creation date, activation date, and update date. And I don't know if that is the best and right approach, or if there is a way to say, for example, state date. When you set the state to a specific value, then kind of indirectly you understand what the date that you then add to the key state date means, because you set the state maybe to active, and then you have state date of today, and you know that this is then kind of the activation date. But then you can only set one kind of date related to the state, and the state you can also have only one, I guess. So
but this part of the dates is new for 1.7, isn't it?
so it's still in the related crypto materials properties. I think it was there before.
It's been in there for a while. I think it was in 1.5, wasn't it?
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can reuse some of the updates, and of course, it will make sense to add a revocation date inside yeah, those values.
Yeah,
Okay,
figure
so-
out what's missing, right?
Yeah, and then we keep this structure of having kind of for each state plus date property a separate kind of key value pair.
Mhm.
Is
And
that
if we can do this in a way, Nicholas, that we can reuse these things without having to copy paste to, I mean, because right now it's in the related crypto materials, but I
Mhm.
believe we were talking about having the dates for like certificates and stuff like that as well, right?
Mhm.
So if we can
Yeah.
do it in a way where we can reuse this block, that would be great.
Sure, sure. I mean, what I was thinking and suggesting, but I don't know if it's then too complex and if it makes sense in the idea of how the standard should be defined, that we have something like state date, which if you set the state in a enum to, for example, active, then this date is related to the active date, basically, that we don't have all the properties or all the, properties for the state at plus date.
Right.
Just one.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense from a use case perspective, and also from how you think the CycloneDX schema is normally defined if you have such a.
Well, I think it's still useful to know, like, when something was created or activated versus when it was revoked, because that'll tell you how long it was in use.
Yeah, okay.
So having
So
multiple, I think, makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so then we just move this to a separate object, which we can reference here and, for example, in the certificate.
Mhm.
Yeah, without any breaking changes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, one thing to note is that we're simultaneously working on 1.7, which we're hopeful will be an ECMA standard later this year. But at the same time, we're working on the Transparency Exchange API, which is kind of it will be the industry standard in which all these supply chain artifacts will be transferred from one party to another in the supply chain. As part of that API, it has the ability to ask questions. What most organizations don't really want are the SBOMs. They don't want to publish them. They don't want to consume them. What they actually want is the data. Like, what cryptographic algorithms do you use? Would be one type of question. So in addition to 1.7, we are also simultaneously working on what would be the object model for that response API. And it's essentially a CycloneDX 2.0 type model. So we're trying to, it just so happens that the CycloneDX model is really API friendly. It's going to greatly reduce the amount of round trips that we have to make from client to server to get the data that we need. And in doing so, we're trying to fix some of the stuff that we don't really like in 1.x, as make it as backward compatible as humanly possible for the Transparency Exchange API. But essentially, that insights part of the API is the CycloneDX 2.0 model.
So the 2.0 could bring some breaking changes, if I understand you correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, keep in mind that we need to do the current stuff in a way that is not going to break changes. However, if you have an idea on how to do this better, I would like to know that as well, just not included in next year's ECMA release.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So I put also this to do on my list yet, those dates, date properties. Copy them from there and try to reuse a lot of them and try to not introduce breaking changes.
Got it. Yeah, otherwise Jan will be all over me. He's the breaking change guy. You must not. Oh, I tease him.
Well,
I tease him.
the fact is that quantum will break a lot of things. So
Oh yeah.
maybe you need to because for example, I have two things to comment. One is about the keys. You have defined a certificate property to link to the the certificate's public key information, which is subject public key ref. But we will need to be able to link several keys to a single certificate because well, there are several schemas to do this, like hybrid, mix, or composite certificates.
Okay. Sure.
And there are all different ways of reusing X509 certs with some additions. And with the current model, we cannot represent all these new ways of creating X509 certs.
Yeah, because like the algorithm ref is just a string, right?
Yeah.
Well, something like that we can actually add. Like that's a really great example because we've done that other places in the schema as well. We can, in a non-breaking way, say, well, this can be a string or it can be an array of strings.
That's it.
Right? We can do that.
If we could add an array instead of a string or give the possibility to use one of both, it would be amazing. And that also works for the signatures, because signatures also, a certificate can be signed with a classic algorithm and also with a post-quantum algorithm to ensure it will keep current.
Okay.
So,
and that's maybe we do that, Nicholas. Maybe on the refs. Now, maybe it makes sense to figure out which one of the refs could theoretically have multiples and which ones cannot. But for the ones that can, let's go ahead and try to make those changes now. And when we do it, we can deprecate the use of the string so that in the documentation, the consumers of that documentation know that that approach is deprecated and will be removed in a future version.
Nice,
right?
nice. Do you have an example where I can copy that from?
There's a few examples. One of them that comes to mind is our version of the HTTP referrer bug, which was literally a misspelling of referrer. So in CycloneDX, we have manufacturer without the R. We have manufacture as if we're, I don't know, French or something. But yes, we yeah. So I think the manufacturer is deprecated and the manufacturer with the R at the end is not. So that would be one, but there's a few others in there that, you know, just either stupid mistakes or things that, you know, we didn't know at the time, but now we did, kind of like this, right? So yeah, there is a pattern for that in the specification. But
also for the array non-breakable change, because it's I think not in the manufacturer.
Yeah, that's let's see. An example of that would be we've done this before. Where do we do this? Where was that? Let me let's see, CycloneDX. We recently launched a new website too, by the way. And
yes, looks great.
Yeah, thank you. And on the new website, we actually have a dedicated page, and I'm going to post this in the Zoom chat. We have a dedicated page where all of our working groups are at, and currently we have 5 feature working groups that are in progress at this moment. Well, not at this particular moment, but yeah, 5 active feature working groups, and you can go in there and get kind of details on, what they're working on, get the invites and that sort of thing. So just FYI, if you want to spread the word to your colleagues and that sort of thing.
Nice.
But
Cool.
let's see, documentation. Where was that? I just ran into that the other day. Let me try to look it up, Nicholas.
Mhm.
I don't want to waste this group's time kind of fumbling around the documentation. But I do know we have a pattern in here somewhere. I just need to dig it up.
Okay. Yeah, I will, when I try to do the changes, I will also try to find it quickly. If I don't, then I will wait on you.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
Cool. Okay, so continuing from the certificate lifecycle, the dates, and then we had kind of an export to the refs. Is there anything else that is on your change list one that we want to go through? And
Okay, we have covered the fingerprint, which you have already added, the serial number that was also added.
yes, there's still to
Um,
do to clarify that, but that's something where we need Lebanese maybe too.
Well, maybe the part of the standard extended properties of the certificate, it would be interesting to add all those properties. I mean, the certificate properties, to add all those properties under a new object inside the certificate's definition.
I think that was, if I recall correctly, and if I understood it correctly, that was a discussion we had last time where there's a the schema is restricted to only have the property with key value pairs of strings and not allowing to add objects.
No, yeah, but I'm talking about the. We had this discussion also. What will we mean with the standard properties or extended properties? I'm talking about the certificate extended properties that defined in the defined for a certificate. I don't know how to call them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
now I know what you mean. Yes, the extension format.
yeah, extensions. That's it.
Yeah.
So right now we don't have, I think, anything to be able to represent extensions. At least the standard extensions, and it would be interesting to add all those extensions and under a new object inside the certificate's definition.
But I think they are here. So this, or if I'm wrong with that.
No,
I'm
not meaning. No, I'm not talking about that. Let me look for an example.
Okay. Yes.
So these are embedded in the certificates themselves, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm talking about the DX509 version 3 extensions. Like, for example, what is the key usage of the certificate? It's a standard property of a certificate, which is inside a block called extensions. Also the extended key usage, also the subject alternative name. These are like standard extended properties for certificates.
Okay. Are those that are normally also written in a string with equal signs and those capital letters? Is that do we talk about the same thing then, or?
Not really. I think let me take a look.
Yeah,
Please.
I definitely have to refresh my certificate knowledge, I guess.
There's a example. I just did a quick search. There's an example on Red Hat's website.
Okay.
So if you look at that particular example in the body of the certificate, you'll see extensions : and then a list of all the extensions. Like the first one
I see.
is the Netscape certificate type.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think when I recall correctly, we had this one last time, and there was just the question about if they are specific to X519, or maybe I also mixed that up. But I think in general we could add those from my point of view, right? Shouldn't be any problem. Just would maybe kind of structure differently, like it is in the certificate, having maybe the type as the first object, and then in there the list of extensions, because maybe there are other certificate types with other extensions. That I think the discussion, but other than that.
Yeah, I think we should be able to support those without a problem. We just need to know what they are, and I think more importantly, we need to know which ones are X509 specific and which ones are more common.
Yeah. Okay. I will just take a note, and definitely for this, I would like to have the opinion from Navneet to maybe give us more insights on how specific they are. But yeah, I think in general we can support those.
Okay.
This link that you shared, Stephen, is exactly what I was talking about. But I think not all of them are required. Some of them are not required. So yeah, maybe some research needs to be done to be which ones at least should be added. Yeah, I was talking about this. I was looking for an example, but I couldn't find it. But yes, it's exactly this.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Then this is something that we then maybe discuss in the next call when I pulled in Navneet, and then we can come to a conclusion there. Is there anything else? Any other changes from your side? No?
No, not more changes from our side.
Okay.
Cool.
That looks quite good then. Cool. Cool. Right. Yeah, so as I said, I would then, the changes we discussed that we conclude on, I would put that in the version, in the branch and PR for the next call. And yeah, try to get Navneet to the next call also, so we can discuss the last point.
Okay.
And then we can start going into the discussion about standardizing algorithm names. Interesting.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's yeah, conquer world hunger while we're at it.
Yes. Just one small thing that I was also wondering about, because we had a discussion internally about that. I don't know if I raised it already. It's about the NIST security level and classic security level. Because from our point of view now, we capture a lot of static properties, kind of related to the inventory part. Just the classic security level and the NIST security level, it's more like already an interpretation of the inventory. And for example, there is not always a clear classic security level, that can also be different. And we now decided from the CBOM generation side to not include those values at all.
Oh,
And because it's kind of like vulnerabilities, it's an opinion that can change over time. And
right.
then the question for me is if we should also deprecate it or add a note for the next version.
Well, it
Because
depends on
it's
I think it depends on the use case, because if you're talking about an operational bill of material and something being assessed at a given point in time, I think it makes sense. But like for like a C-bomb that you're shipping to customers, it probably makes no sense at all.
Yes, I agree. I was just wondering because like vulnerabilities are separate to the components. So there's kind of, it's more outside of the actual component definition, where now the class security level and this security level is kind of in the component. And I don't know if that's then a little bit misleading.
So one of the things that we should probably think about then is how we could represent that kind of risk in a more dynamic way. One of the things that we are doing for 1.7 is we've aligned the entire threat modeling industry behind CycloneDX. And what we're doing is we are trying to represent threat modeling information. Now, this is not like data flow diagrams, but this is all the information necessary to construct those types of diagrams, as well as attack trees and everything else, along with the attack surface of what it is that we're modeling and all of the threats, weaknesses, countermeasures, use cases, etc. Right? So all of that is going to be planned anyway for 1.7. The primary use for this is so that you're actually going to have interop between all of the different threat modeling tools, right? So if we deprecate the NIST and classical security levels, what would be my ask to you then would be, how can we represent that kind of risk in 1.7, knowing that we're going down this other route, right? Because right now CycloneDX does vulnerabilities, but this is not really a vulnerability. This is
exactly
a weakness or a threat.
Yes, I think we touched on this discussion in the beginning that we may not want to use vulnerability because it's different to weaknesses. And I think, the discussion about deprecating those and extending this, or actually thinking and implementing the idea of a weakness, that would make sense. I know that there was a to-do on my side to create an issue in the dependency track repo to start thinking about
right.
such a thing, which I didn't. So
okay.
But yeah, we should definitely and starting the discussion.
Okay, we're starting to create the POCs of what that. I mean, this is really early still. We're starting to create the POCs of what that could theoretically look like in CycloneDX. Trying to reuse components, trying to reuse services, but there's going to be a ton of new objects. So keep that in mind, because again, use case is actually part of it. So think about, well, how could we describe use cases for cryptography, right? Maybe like you have a hardware key or whatever. So being able to describe the use cases, weaknesses, all that sort of thing. We are going to also have there's plans for like mitigation strategies, countermeasures, all that's going to be in there, right? So give it some thought, because then I'll take that input to the group and make sure that our use case here is going to be implemented in that threat modeling working group that we have.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, okay. I will think about that. Thanks.
Yep. Cool. Well, I think we got a lot done today, especially for undoing all the cobwebs after the break and New Year and everything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't dive into algorithm names today.
Me too.
That would have made my head spin. All right. So at least I'm prepared for that now.
That's good when the first meeting isn't about algorithm names.
Right, exactly. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. I'll go ahead and post the video, the recording up on YouTube later today. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Have a great day.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, cheers.